Hello student, did you have a question about this project?
Yes, Professor Locker. I did. I was confused because your instructions ask us to analyze relationships between two categorical variables.
That is correct.
But how do I analyze a relationship between two categorical variables?
Well, most people would present their data as a two-way table, which is also called a crosstab. Let us look at the chalkboard where a two-way table will magically appear.
What am I looking at?
This table shows the relationship between regime types and alliances. On the side we have 3 categories for the regime type. At the top we have 2 categories for the alliance variable.
But what are the numbers in the table?
Well, every case in our dataset or Excel sheet is represented in this one table. There are 18 cases total, but only 3 of the cases involve 2 states with an alliance that are both democracies.
So, the numbers tell us how many cases in our dataset fall into each of the 6 combinations?
Yes, exactly. We call the number in each box or cell the frequency. Knowing the frequencies for each cell helps us to know what combinations are more common and which are less common.
But this table gives me a headache. I can't figure out what the pattern is by looking at this.
I agree. This is a terrible table. It is really bad.
Is there a way to make the table easier to read?
Yes. Yes, there is. One strategy would be to use percentages rather than frequency counts. Let's look at the board again.
Wow, I didn't even see you change the table, but now it is much easier to read.
Yes. This new table uses percentages. This allows us to answer questions about the distribution of government types for pairs of states in alliance and pairs of states that are not in an alliance.
So half of all alliances involve 2 democracies?
Yes. And half of all pairs of states that are not in an alliance often have different government types.
That is really interesting, but I don't think it tells me if democracies are more likely to form alliances than dictatorships.
That is true. Looking at the columns tells us about the breakdown of alliances but not as much about different regime types.
Could we calculate percentages for rows instead of columns?
Yes. Yes, we could do that. To the board.
Wow. This is great. Now I can see that when states have similar regimes they align roughly half of the time.
And when they have different regime types they almost never align.
Two-way tables are amazing.
Yes.